This video is a part of the Arttuber Pokémon League series. Check out the playlist for more. Okay, so the next gym is in this forest. I don't know much, but apparently it's full of bugs. Don't know how to feel about that, but the gym challenge doesn't complete itself. No time to waste. Let's go! Oh man, I'm definitely lost. Whoop. Looking for the bug type gym? Whoop, 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 whoop. I just so happen to know where that is. Here, follow me. Hi everyone. For those who are unfamiliar with me and my content, I'm Rose, also known as DayByDay Creates on YouTube. Today, I will be turning to a Pokemon. Not like that. Today, I will be... No, not like that! What I mean is, today, me and a whopping 17 other artists have come together with a single goal in mind, to make our own Pokemon region. We'll each be designing a gym badge, gym leader, and even some Pokemon. If you want to see everyone else's videos, check out the playlist down in the description. Some of these people have some crazy things planned. Plus, if you watch all 18 videos, you complete the Arttuber Gym Challenge. But you knew all this already if you watched from the beginning of the playlist. Let's get into what you're really here for, the Pokemon designs. Man, the Arttuber region is pretty crazy if you think about it. There's 18 whole badges, some crazy cliffs and craters all over the place, and I think I saw a circus tent in the distance earlier? Also, is it true that one of the gyms sends you all the way to space? Honestly, I have no idea. I usually just stick to this patch of the forest for most of my days. Oh, I see. I was under the impression that you were a gym challenger too, to be honest. Oh, no. I just live in the area. That's how I'm able to lead you over to the gym. It was quite a maze when I first moved here, to be honest. This is Rosette, the bug-type gym leader of the Arttuber region. They were so hard to design. Let's start with the character concept, so you know what I'm trying to get at here. You ever heard of the move Quiver Dance? Oh yeah, Quiver Dance! Best Pokemon move of all time! My first idea. Why not take the name of this move a bit literally? A dance. The first thing that comes to mind when I hear the word is those masquerade balls, with all the fancy dresses and masks. So much inspiration. How to incorporate the inspiration, I hear you asking from the screen? You know how some bugs produce silk? The only Pokemon on my team that ends up, canonically producing silk is Galvantula. However, the idea of it alone inspired me to add some sort of sewing/fashion design elements into this whole thing. I was thinking that this trainer could design their own clothes for this gala of sorts. This is related to the general theme of what inspires you, because I recently used a sewing machine for the first time at school, and it was cool. I'd like to do it again, but I don't have a sewing machine yet. Or any fabric. But speaking of fancy dresses and masks, I actually don't have much experience with drawing that kind of clothing. Because of this, I had to brute force my way through the design, using various Pinterest images for inspiration, and even more slight changes to those Pinterest images. And that alone, I kid you not, was a, get ready for this, 6-week process. I counted, really puts that into perspective now, doesn't it? More on that later. A slight detour, but since the start, I was thinking about the gym being a greenhouse, where I would take care of my bugs, because it would be convenient to take care of them in the same place you grow the food you give for them, because that's what greenhouses are for. Plus, wouldn't it be such a beautiful location for a masquerade ball? I didn't mention this, but the glass would be stained glass. So imagine the moonlight beaming into some stained glass, leaving a whole bunch of colors all around. Wouldn't that just be awesome? So, to recap, a masquerade ball-themed character inside of a stained glass greenhouse deep in the bug forest who takes care of bug types by day and holds masquerade balls by night? Hell yeah! So you know how I was essentially playing around with dress and mask combinations for a while? The funny thing is, out of all the things that could have possibly worked, the two things that actually worked were a Pinterest board and a dress-up game. The Pinterest board was one of the better ideas I've had in my life, mostly because before now I had just no idea, but afterwards, it narrowed down what I really wanted from the design and put all of those references into one place. But I still didn't really have any real permanent ideas that I'm like, that's what I want. That's it. Just some ideas. However, one night, I drafted the idea down onto a mobile dress-up game I play sometime, just to see what happens. I feel the need to clarify that this is not sponsored, unless you want to give me money for it, but I don't have a way to receive money for it. I've just been playing the game since I was in the single digits, what can I say? And somehow, someway, with a little bit of modifying from Ibis Paint X and a Dream, it actually worked. As I said in the Discord one day, there's no brainstorming like dress-up games. Thank you, Love Nikki, my dress-up queen. Still not beating the Love Nikki Dress-Up Queen sponsorship allegations, but I wouldn't do a sponsorship without saying it was. After that, it was about an iteration or two away from the design we know and love today. Fun fact, the dress was pink for a majority of the design process, mostly to match the upcoming Pokemon. But after going back and forth and being given a little bit of constructive criticism, I went back to the green right at the very end. Quite a roller coaster, I must say. All this culminates into the final design. I'm kind of embarrassed at how recent this was, even though you can see right there, and I told you about it earlier. She has a cheerful grin because even though Rosette is trying to be mysterious, they're just too much of a goofy goober. While we're here, I might as well give you guys some more information about them. Rosette over here really loves their bug-type Pokemon. They've known them for a majority of their lives. Also, they tend to have to lead lost trainers to their gym because of the location. The way I think of it, hypothetically, in context, I don't know a thing about game design. There would be like a choice between walking in a straight line towards the gym and going to explore what kind of Pokemon are in this forest. If you go to explore, like I imagine most trainers would, congratulations! Welcome to the maze. It wouldn't be that hard because Pokemon is a children's game, but if you spend a certain amount of time there, like, I don't know, 30 minutes, question mark, Rosette would come to get you out of there. All the Pokemons under design have a story. To catch you up to speed, the net ball is Araquanid, the glove ball is Volcarona, and the quick ball is Galvantula. Have you ever realized how a quick ball looks like a Joltik? The other two balls are a surprise for later. Did you guys know I wrote her backstory for Rosette? For context, I don't do that too often. Anyway, here goes. Rosette was once the youngest child in a wealthy Arttuber family. She subverted their high expectations of them, and the people around them didn't like that very much. They were rowdy, messy, and worst of all, they were sure they had a passion for raising bug-type Pokemon, which was absolutely unacceptable, as they were seen as below other Pokemon. Rosette, knowing they weren't necessarily welcomed at this point, ran away as far as they could go, all the way to the Silkstring Tangle. That's the name of the forest we're in, by the way. It was where they found a giant abandoned greenhouse, where they have since built up everything they have now. Yay! Yippee! Jumps up and down. It's been so long since I started this, I didn't think I'd actually get it done, to be honest. By the way, it took me way too long and exactly 100 soft resets for Shiny Rowlet to realize that Rosette's hat is just a Lily's hat with inverted colors and a butterfly. How do you deal with it? All the bug-type Pokemon? It's a positive in my opinion. I really do love bug types. Really? You don't get scared at all? I believe it's because I grew up with them from a young age. They were my favorite type, and I... Beep, 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 beep. What's that? Now for Pokemon designs. After designing the next Pokemon in this evolution line first, Skitterbug was actually pretty easy. I mean, if we ignore those first designs, those were kind of a test run, non-committal, testing the waters, and the only thing it was really based on were those tall, bald cactus enemies from the Mario games. But really, Skitterbug is based on the larva of the bug that the next Pokemon is based on. This will make sense when we get there. I just added the eye spots for consistency, to be honest. You'll see later. After I drew the long one with the tall legs, I knew what I had to do. The concepts that look like Mario 3D World enemies, or perhaps the humble Waddle Dee, was when I was starting to lose it a little, and so I colored my favorite one and finalized it pretty quickly. So this is Skitterbug. Guys, help! I forgot there was a bug type named Scatterbug. Do I roll with it or do I change it? I decided to roll with it. Skitterbug, the skittish Pokemon. These timid Pokemon don't like attention of any sort. The big spots on the sides of their head mimic eyes to make them look bigger. Skitterbug would almost always rather be eating leaves. Once Skitterbug, I don't know, eats enough leaves, they evolve. Oh, Glitterbug. Where do I even start with you? I probably have 4 final drawings of you alone. Glitterbug was the first Pokemon I drew for this collab. At the time I came up with them, they were the only original Pokemon that I had and was planning to have. Look where we are now. Regardless, the first idea was to include both of my personas in this collab in some way. I made Rose the Pokemon trainer and Sunny the Pokemon. However, looking at them side by side, you may have noticed that Rosette does not look like Rose at all, so I abandoned that idea. However, before I abandoned that idea, I made Glitterbug resemble Sunny. How? And, Rose, can you even call this a Pokemon anymore? That's just your character. Now hold on a second. Consider, dear viewer, let me introduce you to the Rosy Maple Moth. Actually, you probably already know what a Rosy Maple Moth is. If you don't though, it's this pink moth that looks cool. If we put Sunny and the Rosy Maple Moth next to each other, it's a bit of a reach, but you can see how it's possible, right? I hope so, because that's exactly what I did. Also, consider the fact that my name is Rose, and I put part of my name into Rosette. Rose, Rosette, Rosy Maple Moth. It all comes together. The challenge lies in balancing the colors, concepts, and the resemblance to Sunny, and still looking like a moth Pokemon. The colors had me stuck for a while. That was until I realized Glitterbug is also a part fairy type, and Pokemon types actually influence the colors quite a bit. Looking at the way Pokemon color codes their typings is a good place to start usually. Example, off the top of my head, fairy type pink, fire type red, water type blue, grass is green, bug type lighter. A pattern that will start to make itself abundantly clear is the eye spots I put on all these bugs. Would you believe me if I told you it was an accident at first? It's a concept that comes from real life, where over time, bugs just evolve spots that look like eyes sometimes, so predators eat them less. It's very fascinating, and that's why I started adding them. But after a while, I started thinking about how it kinda adds on to the theme that comes from the masquerade idea. Becoming something that you're not for a night. Or something. Thinking about the rosy maple moth, I just can't believe it's that colorful. It's not even that poisonous as well, from what I could tell. And from what I know, it's like the main reason bugs turn that type of saturated color in the first place. But it's such a cool coincidence that it goes so perfectly with my idea. So, without further ado, this is Glitterbug, the pink moth Pokemon. Glitterbug is said to love all things that are even a little bit shiny. Their shy personality has been replaced with an extremely curious one. They use eye-like spots on their wings to confuse potential predators. They are much more social than their timid pre-evolution. By the way, both shiny forms are based on the Atlas moth. Their wings, get this, somehow they figured out how to evolve their wings to look like goddamn snakes. How do they do it? It's a mystery to me. That is just a literal bug. I really don't think that's a Pokemon anymore. Of course it's a Pokemon. Here, look closer. That right there is an Arttuber Laurentis. Huh. I guess you're right. Funny story. As soon as I was assigned my Pokemon type, look, listen, I knew bug type wasn't the best type in the world, but all of the bug type gym leaders are early game gym leaders, and that's kind of lame. That's really lame to me actually. But to counterbalance the fact that I am a bug type gym leader, who my aspiration in life is to be a late game gym leader, and I guess the way I do that, if this was a game like Paldea, I guess like the trainer would forget about me, and they're like, oh, one badge left, where is that? Oh, the forest? Oh, I missed that, okay. To counterbalance the fact that I am a bug type gym leader, I became obsessed with type matchups and competitive viability. I built my team as soon as the collapse started, and you know what? I made sure all of the secondary types of my Pokemon cover all the weaknesses of bug type Pokemon. So if you bring a steel type Pokemon, you won't be safe from my Volcarona. The whole point of this was to say that when I needed a steel type of my own, I almost chose a Scavalier. Nothing wrong with a Scavalier for Scavalier fans, but like, I chose that because like, I almost threw in a bit of night theming because I would become bug type's biggest defender. And I mean, if anyone wants to steal that, go ahead. I don't mind. But at the end of the day, for my thing, that became so cluttered, all of it together, that you couldn't really tell what the original idea was. Plus, if I'm inexperienced with fancy dresses and masks, you should see me with suits of armor. More like you shouldn't. But now that I've decided that Escavalier's out of the picture, who would replace it? Fortress? It sure can spin, but that's when I got a new idea. Did you guys know? I really like Laurentis. One of my favorite bug types in the world. What do you mean it's a grass type? Not if I could do anything about it. And it turns out I can, within the context of this collab. I believe by the time I get to this point in the voiceover, the Pokemon will be done. So this is Fomantis, the small spike Pokemon. When this Pokemon first moved to Arttuber, they were eaten a lot by the other Pokemon there. Because of this, Fomantis had to rather quickly develop defenses, which came in the form of steel typing. They used their metal coat and spikes, mainly to defend themselves. Laurentis is such an interesting Pokemon. I really wanted one in my original Pokemon Moon playthrough after seeing the grass trial, but I guess I just forgot. Typical for 8-year-old me, I guess. For this Pokemon, because it's an evolved evolution of the Pokemon with spikes, I need more metal, more spikes. It was hard to design it at first, because I had to get a hang of what was okay to change and what made it look a bit off, but in like an unintentional way. Once I settled on how the design looks, it's quite cool. Laurentis was the last Pokemon I drew, and when I was done, I was like, wow, I really drew all this Pokemon. Hooray! Choosing the colors was such a difficult task for me that I actually had to break out my secret technique, coloring in grayscale first. I attempted to make this cool dark color palette when I realized, dang it, the spiny flower mantis is white, mainly white in color I mean, which is like the complete opposite of the color black. How did this happen? Oh well, shiny Pokemon exist for a reason. I made Fomantis purple because honestly, it's just because the eyes on the spiny flower mantis are purple, and I needed color. And you know what? Purple is a cool color. You know that? I like the color purple. It's like my second favorite color besides blue. And I'm like, you know what? Oh yes. And it's cohesive, and it still reads as the spiny flower mantis. To me, that is. Man, I never realized how difficult designing regional forms were until I tried it. I knew there was some difficulty to it, which is why I didn't try it earlier. But like, how do you balance it both looking like a Pokemon, looking like the Pokemon you're making a regional form out of, but not looking too much like the original Pokemon? I think, and this comes from what is basically an outsider's perspective, as I have only really watched other people do this stuff until now, it's all in the concept. You need to thoroughly think through what this little pocket monster is all about, and then commit to it. I didn't get to mention it earlier, but this line of Pokemon is based on the spiny flower mantis. You might have recognized it if you're a big mantis fan and you saw my images, but I just found it recently, and I say, what a funky fella! For designing this Pokemon, the idea of Lurantis turning into a real bug was really appealing to me. It was almost really like the main motivating factor for me making it in a way. Also, I added the steel type for extra protection and like a whole new concept as well, which is good. You need that if you're trying to make a regional form. Also, the steel type is famously known for being good at protection, and this is crucial to my concept, because just turning into a bug type alone actually makes grass types worse. Didn't get to mention this earlier, but like, this video is my first time ever designing Pokemon, so be nice to me, please. Without further ado, this is Arttuber Lurantis, the large spike Pokemon. At this stage in its life, it is fully mastered using its arm size as weapons. However, its wings can only take it about a few feet off the ground or so. Lurantis' spikes continue to grow, as it proves to be a useful offensive and defensive weapon. Then we just take another left turn here, and we're there. Oh, that's it. I just wanted to say, thank you again. They're gone. Strange. I wonder where they went. Pretend there is a gym challenge here, please. I ran out of time. I'm so sad. Phew. That's it. I did the gym challenge. Now one thing left. To face the gym leader. Wait. You look familiar. Is that... It's me! You know what? Maybe I'll find one good take. For the gym badge, there were two main designs I was struggling between. There was the moth badge and the spiderweb badge. Web badge? Web badge. The problem with the moth badge at first was that it didn't look enough like a moth. In its early stages, the moth was, at first, just a semicircle. Now, my reasoning behind this was that it would look like the masquerade mask Rosette uses, and it would all come together. But it was almost too simple, and didn't give the effect I was looking for in the end. But at the same time, I didn't want to lean too much into a more realistic moth, because at a certain point, it won't look like a gym badge anymore. I just didn't know where that point would be. At first, I was thinking my solution would be the web badge, a badge that was a spider web. Pretty relevant considering the topics I've discussed today. The problem with the web badge was that, how do I explain this? It almost wasn't even tangible as a concept. A spider web is just some string if you take away all the connections to bugs. How do you make that a Pokemon badge design? When I first thought of the idea, I thought it was a genius, because I thought of it before anyone else could. I now see that I probably didn't think of it before everyone else, but instead, everyone else realized that the web badge in concept is a difficult thing to turn into a Pokemon badge way before I did. So, I turned back to my first idea, the humble moth. Not without some time passing, of course. Quite a bit of time passed, at this point. And with the passage of time came the new idea of the previously mentioned eye spots. The badge was actually the first time I incorporated this into any of my designs, and I think that's what really made the badge work. Because without it, the wings would be like this big uninterrupted shape, and I'll be like, something's wrong here. Oh, you beat me fair and square, huh? Here, take this badge. I call it the moth badge. Hooray! You did it! Watch to the end for something awesome! Can you believe it, guys? Pokemon collab. Finally finished. The Pokemon collab is finally finished. It was fun, don't get me wrong. Now that it's over, I can pose more often again. I guess I've already been leaning into the pose more often idea anyway with the last few videos, but I'm saving my first attempt to upload every week until after I graduate, but maybe like once or twice a month again, now that I'm not working on anything huge. Also, if people want me to draw more Pokemon, you guys better blow this video up, for lack of a better word, cause if not, I'm probably just going back to drawing my original characters again. Don't get me wrong, I'm doing that regardless, but if this does get really popular, I'll give you guys stuff too. And by you guys, I mean people who just got here from the Pokemon video. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon. And for the really awesome thing, it's time to I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was.
To cut stem is my real test. To train them is my cause.
I will travel across the land, searching far and wide.
This Pokemon to understand the power that's inside.
Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all.
It's you and me. I know it's my destiny. Pokemon.
Oh, you're my best friend. In the world we must defend. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. I carry the master. You teach me and I teach you. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. Gotta catch 'em all. Pokemon. Wahoo! Alright, I'm done. I'm going to bed.